I'd like to now, from Shaivism, from a stalwart of Shaivism to an absolute stalwart of Vaishnavism, it is an honor for us to have Dr. M.A. Alwar, who will speak on the mirror image topic of the previous topic. He's going to speak on Saṃskṛtam and Tamil in the Bhāratīya Vaiṣṇava literature. I would like to introduce Dr. Alwar with a few words. So that is his photograph, and Dr. Alwar is an acclaimed scholar, highly qualified in Sanskrit and Indian knowledge systems. He has many academic qualifications to his credit, which include Vidwan in Prachina Nyaya, Vidwan in Navya Nyaya, in addition to his master's and doctorate, both in Sanskrit or Saṃskṛtam. Dr. Alwar has been working to date as professor of Nyaya Shastra for nearly 3 decades at the Government Maharaja's Sanskrit College, Mysore, Karnataka Sanskrit University, where his work involves teaching of texts of Indian philosophy and logic at the graduate and postgraduate levels. He is also an honorary project director, Transdisciplinary University TDU, Foundation for Revitalization of Local Health Traditions, FRLHT, Bangalore, implementing many projects such as Digital Repository of Medical Manuscripts and Books on Karnataka, Comprehensive Dictionary of Ayurveda from Sanskrit, English, Kannada, critical editions, translations, publications of rare books. Again, another stalwart scholar from his field. I could keep adding to his list of accomplishments. He's also an expert manuscriptologist, has authored about a dozen books, and edited and published more than 50 books on various topics. With these few words, I invite Dr. M.A. Alwar Avargal to share his views on the topic Saṃskṛtam and Tamil in the Bhāratīya Vaiṣṇava literature.
Vishnum bhasvatkirītāṅgadavalayya gadākalpaharoജ്jvalāṅgam Shroni bhūshā suvaksho manimakutabha kundalairmanditāṅgam Hastodhyacchaṅkhachakram bhujagadamamalam pītakausheyavāsam Vidyotadbhāsamudyattinakarasadrisham padmasamstham namāmi Alvar halvāri arudiccayalvāri தாழ்வாதமில் குறவர்தாம் வாழி ஏழ்பாறுமைய அவர்களுரை தவைகள்தாம் வாழி செய்யமறை தன்னுடனே சேர்ந்து. First of all, I would like to offer my humble pranams to the esteemed panelists who are present in this online webinar organized by the INDIC Academy and being moderated by a great scholar, Sri Megh Kalyansundaram. In fact, I have been enamored by the unique and pioneering tasks undertaken by the INDIC Academy. Though I have been associated with this INDIC Academy on and off, I have not had any formal association with them. Of course, I have addressed 3 or 4 seminars organized by the various wings of the INDIC Academy in the last 3 to 4 years. And the topic that is given to me today is Sanskrit and Tamil, especially with reference to the Sri Vaiṣṇava literature. It's a topic that is very close to my heart, and it's a very vast and deep topic, and even a small drop of knowledge in this steep and deep ocean seems to be quite difficult to acquire. So I would like to give an exposition about what little I know in this huge ocean of knowledge that pertains to Sanskrit and Tamil. What is Sanskrit and what is Tamil? First, we have to understand these two languages from a particular perspective. So, Saṃskṛtam, as it is called, is known as the Devabhāṣa, Gairvāṇi, and several other names. Similarly, Tamil is also known by several names. And one of the important names given to Tamil is Dravida Bhāṣa. So, what is the relationship between Saṃskṛtam and Tamil? First, we have to understand this in independent perspectives, and then we have to bring these two perspectives together. Probably first we have to juxtapose them and then also bring them together, as has been done by the great saints belonging to the Sri Vaiṣṇava tradition over a period of the last 700 to 800 years. So in this regard, when we talk about Saṃskṛtam and other Indian languages, for example, one main aspect that stands out in contrast between Sanskrit and other languages is that Saṃskṛtam is Samyak Kritam Saṃskṛtam. That means it is always refined and there is no unrefined aspect in Sanskrit. This can be better understood when we compare, for example, Kannada language or Tamil language, where you have Sanskritized Tamil and unsanskritized Tamil. So in Kannada, we call it as Saṃskṛta Kannada and Asaṃskṛta Kannada. For example, when we talk about the different dialects of Tamil, so we see that people who are in the slums, etc., they talk a particular dialect of Tamil, which is Asaṃskṛta Tamil. Whereas those who are educated or highly evolved, they will talk a different dialect of Tamil. So in Tamil or in Kannada, for example, those who are in the villages, etc., they talk a very watered down version of the Kannada, which is called Asaṃskṛta Kannada. I can give several examples, but there is a lot more to go further, so I will not elaborate on this aspect. So you have a Saṃskṛta Kannada and Asaṃskṛta Kannada, whereas in Sanskrit, everything is Sanskrit. So that is the uniqueness of Sanskrit language. That is why it is called as the Devabhāṣa. And also one more very important aspect is Sanskrit language has several dimensions to it that other Indian languages do not have, in the sense that, so this is not to belittle the other Indian languages, etc., but Sanskrit has its own status where it is on the highest pedestal of languages. We all know that it is the mother of all languages, etc., etc., which is often mentioned in several forums and written in several essays, etc., and I don't want to go in deep into it. So in the Sri Vaiṣṇava tradition, you see that there is a very, very happy usage of Sanskrit and Tamil together. So that is why all the Sri Vaiṣṇavas are known as Ubhaya Vedantis. So what do you mean by Ubhaya Vedanta? So we give equal prominence to both Saṃskṛta Vedanta and also Dravida Vedanta. The same importance that is given to the Vedas, which are in Sanskrit, is given to the Divya Prabandhas, which are all in Tamil. So why did the Sri Vaiṣṇava tradition adopt this policy of giving equal importance to Sanskrit and Tamil literature, both together? In fact, I would like to give a small contrast. It is the uniqueness of the Sri Vaiṣṇava tradition that it has given equal importance to Sanskrit literature, that is Vedic literature, and the Divya Prabandha literature, which is known as Dravida Veda on the Sri Vaishnava tradition. In fact, in other traditions, for example, though a lot of importance is given to the Tamil literature, it is not given equal importance as the Vedic tradition has been given. And I would like to give a small example. Of course, this is purely from an academic point of view. And while we respect all the traditions, we respect the Shaiva tradition, Vaishnava tradition, any other tradition that is there in India. But it is not inappropriate to point out the speciality of Sri Vaishnava religion, because in the tradition, in this context. So in the Shaiva tradition, generally the divine compositions of the Nayanmars are not allowed to be chanted inside the sanctum sanctorum of the Shiva temples. They are generally chanted outside the sanctum sanctorum. Whereas in the Sri Vaishnava tradition, both the traditions are given equal importance. That is, the Sanskrit Vedas are also chanted inside the sanctum sanctorum, and the Tamil literature of Nammalwar and all the other Alwars, especially Andal, etc., are chanted within the sanctum sanctorum itself. So, in those days, when the regional languages were not as prominent as they are today, the Sri Vaishnava tradition, especially Sri Ramanujacharya, had the wherewithal and pioneering idea to upgrade the Tamil literature to the level of Sanskrit literature, that is, upgrade the Tamil Vedas to the level of Sanskrit Vedas. And he made it a point to ensure that Tamil songs of the Alwars are equated with the Sanskrit literature and Sanskrit Vedas, and they also had to be chanted within the sanctum sanctorum itself. This is one most important uniqueness that is outstanding as far as the Sri Vaishnava tradition is concerned, in giving equal prominence to both the Vedas in Sanskrit, the original Sanskrit Vedas, and the Tamil Vedas. This is the first point that is to be noted. The second point is, why did the Sri Vaishnava tradition give prominence to Tamil, a regional language? This is a very, very important question that generally is not answered in a very satisfactory manner by people who are not very well aware of the facts that are associated with this regard. One very important thing is, both the Vedic Sanskrit language as well as classical Sanskrit language is not within the reach of all the masses. One reason people attribute this to is that there are certain passages in the Vedas which prohibit certain sections of society from learning the Vedas. I am very careful in using the word certain sections of society I am mentioning. So this has to be noted. So today people say they were discriminated against, they were deprived of knowledge, etc. No, this is not the case. Because Sanskrit language has its own uniqueness as well as peculiarity. And the pronunciation of Sanskrit language, especially the Vedic Sanskrit, with the Udatta, Anudatta Swaras, Anudatta Swarita Swaras, and also several other aspects. For example, when you go to the Ghanapatha, there is a very difficult aspect called Ghanasandhi, which is beyond the reach of even the very well-learned Vedic scholars. When it comes to Ghanasandhis, even those who have learned Vedas for 10 or 12 years or 15 years, they find it difficult to properly chant those Ghanasandhis. So when it is so, with regard to Vedic scholars who have trained for several years, it is not within the reach of ordinary people to chant the Vedas in the right manner. And unless something is not done in the right manner, there is a saying, avidhina akritam akritam bhavati. Suppose I try to play cricket with a hockey stick. Will it be called cricket? No, it will not be called. Or suppose I try to play cricket with a tennis racket. Can it be done? No. And the speech box of all persons belonging to different sections of society are not empowered or endowed with the capacity to chant the Vedic sentences or Vedic passages in the way they have to be chanted. And we all know that when it comes to Vedas, even a small change in the swaras, that is the accents of Udatta, Anudatta and Swarita, will totally distort the meaning. That is why it is said, Yathendra Shatruhu Swarato Parata. Even one change in the accent will change the meaning and can result in disaster. So this is the reason why certain sections of the society were prevented or mentioned that they should not learn the Vedic texts, not from any other angle as far as I know. And for example, when I come across several people who belong to Russian countries, they cannot produce ta, tha, da, dha, na, that is the murdhaksharas, that is the palatal, or it is called something else in English. I don't remember the name right now. So their speech box, in their speech box, they are never able to mention or pronounce ta, tha, da, dha, na, etc. So, since Sanskrit is a highly refined language and Sanskrit pronunciation involves a certain inherent capacity, certain sections of the society were said, please do not learn the Vedas, because even if you learn it, you will not be able to learn it properly. And therefore, you may refrain from learning the Vedas. You may attempt to do the subsidiary texts. But as I said, even Sanskrit language has a certain refinement, or the maximum refinement to its nature, that we say Sakrite Shakrit Mahapu. So today, many a times, since people who are not trained in Sanskrit, they are unable to distinguish between Sakara, Shakara, Shakara, and all the Cha, Cha, etc. So, when you have to pronounce Sanskrit, you have to be very careful. That is why I said Sakrite Shakrit Mahapu. So when you say Bhavantaha Ekadashyam Sakrite Bhunjanti, means you have to eat once on an Ekadashi day. So if Sa becomes Shakrit, means done or shipped. So you have to be very careful when you actually pronounce Sanskrit. So we say Rishihi Phalam Khadati. So Rishi eats a fruit. If Phalam becomes Palam, it means meat. It suffices to say the Rishi eats meat. So ordinary people cannot actually grasp these nuances of Alpa Prana, Mahaprana, Sakara, Shakara, Shakara, etc. So they were unable to grasp the nuances and therefore they were not able to study Sanskrit. But at the same time, they were also great devotees of the Lord. And they also wanted to have some literature which is within their realm of reach. And therefore, the Sri Vaiṣṇava saints or the Sri Vaiṣṇava Acharyas said, these people can study the Tamil Vedas, where it is within the grasp of all people, irrespective of their belonging to any particular section of society. That is why, even, for example, Krishna becomes Kiruttinan. So, Hrishikesha, it involves a Murdhanya Shakara and Talavya Shakara. Hrishikesha. Ordinary people cannot pronounce it. That is why it has become Irudi Keshan Tanak. Hrishikesha becomes Irudi Kesha. Krishnan becomes Kiruttinan or Kannan, which is very easy to pronounce. I can give nearly 1,000 examples of how what we call as Tatsama and Tadbhava in Kannada. That is, Bhakti becomes Bhakti. There are thousands of words like this in the Divya Prabandhas alone, which are derivations of Sanskrit. So that way, the Sri Vaishnava tradition catered to all sections of society. So for those sections of society who are not able to grasp the nuances of Sanskrit and chant the Vedic mantras, or the itihāsas, or Puranas, or the Vedic Sanskrit stotras, like Mukundamala or Stotratna, etc., etc., they were not left behind in any way. Sri Vaishnava tradition ensured that they are not left behind in any way, because they can chant the Divya Prabandhas, which are in Tamil language, which is in grasp of all the people. So that way, the Sri Vaishnava tradition ensured that nobody is left behind just because of their drawbacks in the attempt to try to learn Sanskrit, etc. Even today, we see that several people try to learn Sanskrit and they are unable to go the distance because it's such a highly refined language. But that does not mean that they should not learn. Attempts are definitely welcome. But at the same time, as I said, if something is half done, it is better not to do it. Because you are neither here nor there. They call it as ito prashtas tato prashta in Sanskrit. So you have a readily available solution in Tamil literature, which is so vast, especially the Sri Vaishnava literature, which actually is in the form of 4,000 stanzas composed by all the 12 Alwars. So, as I just mentioned, every section's society's aspirations are taken care of by the Sri Vaishnava literature, by the Sri Vaishnava tradition, which gave equal prominence to Sanskrit Vedas and the Tamil Vedas. And that is why stalwart Sri Vaishnavas are known as Ubhaya Vedantas. They are known as Ubhaya Vedantas. That means they are experts in Ubhaya Vedanta, that is both the Vedantas. This is the first important aspect that is to be noted. The second important aspect is a huge amount of Vaishnava literature, Sri Vaishnava literature, has been composed in a unique aspect called Manipravala language. What is Manipravala? I have prepared a presentation to show it to you. Before I go to it, I would like to mention a very interesting fact. In fact, when I was discussing this aspect of Manipravala, which is a combination of Sanskrit and Tamil, a great scholar who I revere to a great extent mentioned this Manipravala concept exists not only with regard to Sanskrit and Tamil, it exists as Sanskrit and Kannada, Sanskrit and Malayalam, Sanskrit and Telugu, etc. But the reason why Sanskrit and Tamil together came to be known popularly as Manipravala is a huge amount of Sri Vaishnava literature is composed in this language called Manipravala. And a great scholar called Annangaracharya was the most revered scholar in the 20th century and who single-handedly brought out more than 1,200 publications, which even great universities can never even dream of. He has written a beautiful work on Manipravala. And in the beginning, he has given an example of how you can combine Tamil and Sanskrit and author ordinary poems also. So it's so innovative that even those who are not very much interested in the philosophical aspect can enjoy it. So the anecdote goes as follows. So as I said, this great scholar called Annangaracharya, who lived in Kanchipuram, in the 20th century. He passed away in 1983 at the age of 94. So once he approached a wealthy woman to give him some financial help to publish a book. Then she welcomed him and she, with a very smiling face, listened to him. And after listening to him, she did not give any donation. Then he actually composed a verse which is as follows. So which is a combination of Sanskrit and Tamil. So he said, Arumbu pole tava danta pantihal, Karumbu pole tava varieties, Irumbu pole tava nenjam vartate, Turumbu pole ena ennina. So what does this mean? It's so beautiful. It's a combination of Tamil and Sanskrit. So he said, Arumbu pole tava danta pantihal. So when I see your face, you are smiling and your teeth look like the jasmine flower, which is very beautifully made together in the form of a garland. So she said, Arumbu pole tava danta pankti. Your teeth are so beautiful, like a garland of jasmine flowers. And Karumbu pole tava vartari. Your body language and your speech, it is so sweet, like sugarcane. But inside, your heart is like irumbu. That means, though you speak very well and you are very forthcoming and you are so nice to hear, your heart resembles that of an iron. That means it is so hard, you have no consideration for me. And Turumbu pole ena enni. And you treated me like something that is extremely negligible. So it's called as Turumbu in Sanskrit. So this is, he has given an example of how what we call as Laukika literature or some very simple literature that is worldly can be composed in the form of a combination of Sanskrit and Tamil. So this is another very important aspect, and several poets have composed this type of combination of Sanskrit and regional language. And as I said, the combination of Sanskrit and one regional language can be called as Manipravada, but the name Manipravada is prominently used to actually denote the combination of Sanskrit and Tamil only. And I will just show this presentation and then conclude my talk. So I have named it as follows: proof of a happy blending of Sanskrit and Tamil heritage to show that they are non-exclusive of each other. So it is what is Manipravada language? It's a particular literary style used in the medieval liturgical texts in South India, especially the Sri Vaiṣṇava literature. And it's an admixture of Tamil and Sanskrit. So Mani Pravada literally means ruby and coral, where Mani means ruby in Tamil, while Pravada means coral in Sanskrit. Tamil is referred to as ruby and Sanskrit as coral. So many a times what happens, the ruby is very much shining, and if the shine of the ruby has to come to the fore, you have to have a coral next to it, so that there is a beautiful contrast. But at the same time, coral is not to be belittled in any way. Both are of equal prominence, but one helps the other shine more. So this is mutual. And predominantly prevalent in Vaishnava literature, religious and philosophical literature in Tamil Nadu. And it may be assumed that the gold casing is the divine content that is delivered through this divine language. And there are beautiful explanations which we can all enjoy. For example, I will give a text from the Srivachana Bhushanam, which is as follows. Vedartham aradidivade smriti itihāsa puranangalade. So here the Vedartha is in Sanskrit. Smriti, itihāsa, purana. These words are in Sanskrit. So aradidivade is in Tamil. And puranangalade. So if you see the suffix or the pratyayas are the Tamil suffixes. And you can see the majesty of the language also. So this is the beginning of the Pilladokacharya's Srivachana Bhushanam, a wonderful, wonderful text on the importance of the prapatti in Sri Vaishnava literature. So with regard to this, a great saint called Manavala Mamuni says, Ar Vachana Bhushanathin Aal Porulellam Arivar. Arada Shol Neril Anuttippa. Who can understand the nuances or the hidden meanings of Sri Vachana Bhushanam? Who can practically implement them? Even if there is one person who can tell it, who can do this, please let me know. Because not everybody can actually perform or practice what is mentioned in this Sri Vachana. So in this Sri Vachana Bhushanam, he says, see how beautifully it is. He has rendered it in Manipravala language. Acharya Abhimanam Dan Prapatti Pole Upayantarangaluk Angamumai Swatantramumai Rikkum Bhaktil Lashaktanak Prapatti Prapattil Lashaktanak Ide Prathamam Swarupattai Pallavitamakum Pinbu Pushpitamakum Anantaram Phalapariyantamakum. I will very briefly explain what it means. So today, though very according to the core of the Vedanta, though we say jnana alone is the path to attain moksha, because it says na anyah panthaha vidyate ayanaya vedahametam purusham mahantam, etc., where it says tamevam vidvan amritaiha bhavati na anyah panthaha vidyate ayanaya. So this passage from Purusha Sukta is interpreted to say that apart from jnana, there is no other path to attain moksha. But later in the Bhagavad Gita, etc., it says, Bhaktya tu anaham vedaihi na tapasa na danena na cha ijjaya. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shaktya ahamevam vidho arjuna jnatum drashtum cha tattvena praveshtum cha parantapa. So Lord Krishna very clearly delineates the fact that bhakti alone is the moksha, path to moksha. So even bhakti is very difficult to perform for certain people. Then what to do? Then he gives another solution where he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. So if you are unable to perform bhakti, which is known as bhakti yoga, don't worry, you just surrender to me. That is known as Sharanagati or Prapatti in Sri Vaishnava tradition, as per the works of Bhagavad Gita, etc. So he says, Bhakti Lashaktanaktu Prapatti. Very beautifully, very simply it can be understood, very simple language, though it is in Manipravala. Prapatti Lashaktanakti. So even it is very difficult to perform prapatti. Is it easy? So easy to surrender. 99.9% of the times we are unable to surrender anything in our life, whether it is money or name, fame, or even a small change in attitude, we are unable to perform. We are not even able to change a small aspect of our attitudes. So surrender also is very difficult. Then what to do? Prapatti lashaktanakkaide. So when you are unable to do that also, what Pilladokacharya says, you try to engage in acharya abhimana. So when there is a person who is a realized soul, who has had enlightenment, you try to become the recipient of his grace. You try to become the recipient of his abhimana or affection. Not even his grace. Affection is also enough. So what happens? Acharya abhimanam prapatti pole upayantarangalukku angamumai swatantravumayi irukkum. It's a very, very profound statement. So if you have, whether you have to do jnana, or whether you have to do bhakti, or whether you have to do prapatti, in all these aspects, acharya abhimana is most important aspect. It is an unavoidable anga limb of any upaya, any means that is needed to attain moksha. Because even if you go in the jnana marga, you follow the bhakti marga or prapatti marga, everywhere without the intervention of a guru, you cannot attain moksha. That is why, whether it is the yoga tradition or the Sankhya tradition or the Vedanta tradition, any tradition you take, or even very, very mundane aspects, whether you are a lawyer or an auditor, a chartered accountant, or even a sports person, you need a guru. Without a guru, you cannot do anything. You cannot progress at all. Or whether it's the field of medicine, everywhere you need the guidance of an expert. And it is more so in the field of spirituality. So, if you are unable to, what is being said here is, whether you engage in the bhakti marga, or the jnana marga, or the prapatti marga, acharya abhimanantan prapatti pole, that is to be explained in great detail. I will not go into that. Upayantarangalukku angamumai. So it is an anga, unavoidable aspect of all the upayas. Or in case you are not able to engage in bhakti or prapatti or jnana, forget about it. You keep acharya abhimana only as the single and sole means to attain moksha. So try to become the recipient of the grace of your guru. That is all you have to do. Then what it will do? Idu prathamam swarupattai pallavitamam. It will give you the basic qualification, which is called as Swarupavirbhava. So just as when you actually sow a seed in the earth, first it will sprout, which is called as Pallava. Then gradually it will grow and it will bear flowers, and then ultimately it will bear the fruits and you can have the fruit. So similarly, this Acharya Abhimana, it will sow the seeds that are required for your enlightenment. Then it will sprout. Then it will see that all the flowers grow, and from the flowers you get the fruit. This is the greatness of Acharya. So in another context, a very beautiful saying is there of the great Parashara Bhattar, who says, Datte rangi nijamapipanam deshika desha kanchi. So the Lord, Sriman Narayana, Lord Nanganatha, is waiting for the order of the Acharya. And if the Acharya says, please grant him enlightenment, please grant him moksha, he will immediately do it. This unique aspect of Sri Vaishnava literature is excellently brought out in the Manipravada language, where there is a happy marriage of Sanskrit and Tamil. I will chant this once again and proceed to the next aspect. Vedartham marudidivadu smriti itihāsa puranangalāle. You have to very specifically devote your attention to what is Sanskrit and what is Tamil, and how they have been so beautifully blended. Acharya abhimanam tam prapatti pole upayantarangalukku angamumai swatantravumayi irukkum. Bhakti rashaktanukku prapatti rashaktanukku idu prathamam swarupattai pallavitamakum indu pushpitamakum anantaram phalaparyantamaktum. So here we have to note that the entire text concerns the teachings of Vedic texts. There is nothing that contradicts the Vedic text. And in fact, all the texts in their entirety complement and supplement the tenets of the Vedic texts. So nowhere Tamil is portrayed as opposing to Sanskrit. And the narrative is that Saṃskṛta is Aryan and this is Dravidian, etc. Of course, it's a highly controversial topic. I don't want to go into that. But this narrative is totally wrong, as it is being proven of late. And finally, the unique utilities of the Manipravala languages, it is addressed to the dire need to convey the concepts and theories and truths of the Vedic and allied Sanskrit texts to the masses at large who are residing in the southern region. Texts that were authored in pure Sanskrit language were beyond the grasp of the common people. I have explained the reasons in great detail in the beginning of my talk. At the same time, Tamil was the predominant language that prevailed in southern Indian region. And from the point of view of the science of linguistics, we talk about 5 Dravidavarṣas. Pancha Dravidavarṣas, they call it. And Tamil is the most important and the most ancient language among these 5 Dravidavarṣas. So when you read Hale Kannada, the old Kannada, the classical poets like Ranna, Pampa, etc., 90% of it is Tamil. You can see the influence of Tamil in Malayalam also to a great extent. And many a times when they are spoken when Malayalam people speak Tamil or Tamil people speak Malayalam, you are confused whether it is Tamil or Malayalam. And when you go down south, it actually in a way it merges and you are unable to make out the difference between Tamil and Malayalam. So Tamil is the predominant Dravidian language, and that is one of the reasons that the combination of Tamil and Sanskrit was adhered to by the Sri Vaiṣṇava saints. To convey the concepts, theories and truths of the Vedic and allied Sanskrit texts, this language of Manipravalam was evolved mainly by the Sri Vaishnava fathers around the 12th century. And the aim of doing so was twofold. There would be no dilution of the concepts to be conveyed as far as the topics themselves are concerned. This is very important. And there would be no departure from the Sanskrit roots, since Sanskrit words would be predominantly used. And the example I have given is a wonderful example of this. And apart from this, the masses would be attracted and interested towards these truths, since they would feel that the topics and concepts are conveyed in a language that is in their mother tongue. So the language barrier is transcended. This is very, very important again. So to transcend the language barrier is one of the most important things. Many a times people have a mental block. When they are unfamiliar with other languages, they say, no, I am not interested in this. So please tell it to me if it is in my language, I listen to it. So the language barrier was transcended by this aspect. That is also to be noted. And finally, I would like to say, the new language ensured that the adhikaris. So what do you mean by adhikari? It's a very, very profound topic, profound subject. And I will not elaborate on that because there is no time now. So you can roughly say that the deserving people, those who do not misuse or abuse the information, they are adhikaris. And finally, and those who are fit to attain whatever is to be attained. Karmajanya Phalaswami. That is what adhikari is defined as in Sanskrit. So they should not be deprived of their rightful share of the sacred Vedic knowledge. And at the same time, it ensured that non-adhikaris were kept out of the ambit of sacred knowledge. Today we see, right from the internet to any other scientific experiment or scientific achievement, most of the achievements or inventions were are abused or misused. In fact, even the atom bomb was, or the atomic research into the atomic sciences were carried with a destructive intention in mind, and only later it was used for civilian purposes. So as we know today, you see how much of cyber crime, cyber frauds are happening in the world. So that is because the non-adhikaris are given access to this. And even today it's a challenge that the nuclear weapons are not handed over or are not controlled by the people who are interested in destructive purposes. So this is a very, very important concept in our tradition, that non-adhikari should be kept out of the ambit. And this has got nothing to do with discrimination or distinction among various sections of society, etc. It also ensured that knowledge is preserved for posterity. This also I can explain in great detail, but already I am coming to the end of the allocated time. And finally, it highlighted the fact that there is no departure from the roots of Vedic culture, and a uniquely happy blending of Sanskrit and Tamil heritage to show that they are non-exclusive of each other. So I hope I have explained a few points related to Sanskrit and Tamil with special reference to the Sri Vaishnava literature. I hope my talk has been of some information to you that is useful. I once again thank Sri Meg Kalyan Sundaramji, an acclaimed scholar in several disciplines. Of course, this is the first time personally I am seeing him online. I haven't had the opportunity to meet him, and I hope we will have the opportunity to meet in person once again. And I once again thank all the participants of this webinar, and also the INDIC Academy for this opportunity to say a few words in this topic about which I am very passionate. I thank you once again, and any inadvertent errors may kindly be excused. Thank you once again. Namah Paramarishibhyo, Namah Paramarishibhyaha.
Very grateful to you, Dr. M.A. Alwar, for sharing your expertise gained with so much devoted attention to the details that you have actually shared, accumulated over several years, both from your own efforts and from the gurus that you have learned with. I'm very, very grateful to you for joining us today and for sharing this very unique. You started with the nuts and bolts, one could say, in terms of asking questions about what the language actually is, and then built on to talking about how they get intertwined, really, these two languages in Manipravalam, which of course is a big part, an unmissable part of the Bharatiya heritage under the Vaiṣṇava vertical, if one could say that. So this was excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Thank you so much for joining today. There might be a question or two on the Q&A box. If there is any of the questions that you would like to answer that you feel is relevant to your talk, specific to what you have spoken, please feel free to answer that.